Alright, so today we're talking about Resident Evil 6, and it's weird because Resident Evil 6 has been kind of a topic of discussion fairly recently after the Resident Evil showcase a few weeks ago, and it's a weird one. I think it's people that are just kind of not fans of this game coping a little bit too much about it, but basically people have been saying that 6 wasn't canon for a while, apparently, and then since this showcase where the game director for Requiem said that, you know, this is a post RE6 Leon, who still was DSO, so that does obviously make, you know, Resident Evil 6 a canon game. People were kind of like, what? It's canon? And I'm like, and I have thoughts. So let's go on a bit of a event about Resident Evil 6. So obviously first, RE6 is a game. It exists, it's real, and is it a good game, like, overall? I'd say yeah, it's well made, it's fun, I enjoy it. Is it a good Resident Evil game? Not at all. It's not a good Resident Evil game. I remember playing this game when it came out with a friend, and we pretty much bashed through the whole thing, every campaign, in a day. And it was fun. We were laughing about it, because it was just over the top ridiculous. There's moments in my head, like while I'm recording this video, I'm thinking about, and it's just like, why was this in the game? If you play Resident Evil 6, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But yeah, there's a lot of people out there that don't like it at all, and probably haven't played it at all. But I also know people that do like it and enjoy it, and have put a lot of time in Resident Evil 6, and that's fine. If you like the game, more power to you. Like I said, I enjoy the game, but I just don't class it as a Resident Evil game, at least in my mind. But let's talk about this whole canon situation, and it kind of stems from the remakes, to be honest. So ever since Resident Evil 2 basically released, Resident Evil 2 Remake, there's been this talk about canon, and how the remakes have been kind of replacing the canon of the original games. And every time one comes out, that's been a topic of conversation, and it's never been like fully acknowledged by Capcom, you know, which is canon. So people like to kind of choose which one they want to be canon, and to put it quite simply, really, they're both canon, right? All it is a reimagining of that story, right? It's a modern take on that story, and at the end of the day, the start and the end of the game, it plays out the same, right? It's still the same story, still comes to the same conclusion. Maybe there's differences, slightly, but at the end of the day, it's still the same story, just told in a different way. So in a sense, really, you can kind of pick and choose which ones you want to kind of personally think are the canon. So for me, this is a bit of a rogue one, but I prefer how the story is presented and told in Remake 4 than Original 4. I think it's more serious, it's gritty. Leon's obviously a bit more kind of grizzled, I guess, by the events of 2 and this one versus the original. He still is kind of affected by them in both, but with Resident Evil 4 I think it's more of a forefront thing. I just like how Resident Evil 4 Remake presents that story, but on the flip side, I prefer Resident Evil 3 Original for the story, because it's more fleshed out. Like, there's bits that haven't been removed, you know, there's more kind of relationship building with characters. Yeah, Resident Evil 3 Nemesis is a better telling of Resident Evil 3's story. So really, yeah, you can kind of pick which one you want in your minds to be the one. Obviously at the end of the day, it's both. You can just choose which way you'd rather kind of digest that story, right? Now here's the thing. Resident Evil 6 hasn't got a remake, right? And I don't think it will. I really don't. I think if it was going to get a remake, this would be probably the biggest overhaul of a game in the franchise we'd ever see. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think if it is going to happen, it's going to be anytime soon. But I just don't think it's going to happen, right? So this is Resident Evil 6. This is what you've got, okay? So by the logic of, okay, so you've got a remake timeline, original timeline, they're both canon, just pick and choose. There's only one Resident Evil 6, and there's only one Resident Evil 5 at the minute, and why wouldn't that be canon, you know? I always kind of think, when I see this whole canon storyline, whatever, I always kind of look at it from, you know, there's certain movie franchises that have been doing it recently too, where they've kind of gone back to redo another movie of an old franchise and said, okay, so we've got this big backlog of films that we've made for this franchise, and only this one, and this one are canon. You know, the other ones have been retconned, right? And there's a few franchises that do it, but they say it. They tell you that's the case. Never has it once been said that Resident Evil 6 isn't canon. Why would they not say it if it wasn't something they decided to do? On top of that, there's already been things that have released after Resident Evil 6 that have mentioned it, you know, mentioned the events of it in some way or another. So, you know, that in itself would kind of confirm that it did happen. Obviously, it's kind of nods and little references, but it's still, you know, it's still noticing the events of RE6. So, obviously it happened. But no, I mean, really overall, I think the argument of, you know, remake timeline, original timeline, it does kind of get confusing. I will say that to some people, maybe who aren't as kind of like keyed into everyday news of this franchise. You know, it's difficult to follow. The way I see it is, and the way I hope most people would see it is that they both coexist, right? So you can pick one, or you can like both, and just treat them as the same story, because that's what they are. You know, they're still the same story. I've said that like 50 times in this video now. The start and the end, the same thing. The stuff in the middle, maybe altered, but it still, you know, closes the story the same kind of way, right? But I think a lot of the kind of talk about it not being canon is just people that don't like RE6, that want it to be kind of retconned and to be kind of brushed aside as something that didn't happen. And here's the thing, this is just recently as well, so this is like mid-making this video I figured this out. There was an interview not too long ago after the showcase where one of the game directors was asked about Chris, and you know, where is Chris? Because obviously at the end of Village there's a big thing, and you'd assume that Resident Evil 9 would follow off the end of that. And they basically said, it's not the first time they've kind of left stories open, right? So with Chris, they basically said, you know, this is not the time to tell that story yet, and it is still something that they're kind of aware of that has happened. But saying that, they also mentioned Jake from Resident Evil 6, obviously, spoilers, Wesker's son, right? So he still exists, he's still out there somewhere, they just kind of haven't picked it back up again yet. And that could be an excuse, you know, they do it all the time. There's so many story points in multiple games that just don't really get covered for a long time, but they're acknowledging it. That's the thing this time around. They're acknowledging Resident Evil 6 twice within like a week. So it's definitely something that happened. But yeah, that's pretty much going to wrap it up. Basically, to sum up, RE6 is a canon game. It's just people that don't like it saying that it shouldn't be. Again, if you're a fan of Resident Evil 6 as a whole, don't let anyone say otherwise. You know, if you like the game, great. If you want to rave about the game, go for it. You know, if you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. That's fine. I enjoy the game. I think the game is fun. Will it get remade? You know, will that then have that whole, you know, is RE6 going to be completely changed and then that therefore retcon the original? I don't know. Is that going to happen anytime soon? Absolutely not. But until that does happen, or doesn't happen, this game is canon. So, there's your answer. But thank you for watching. Leave your thoughts on Resident Evil 6 down below and subscribe for more Resident Evil content. And as always, I'll catch you in the next one.